And you all know various colleges across the nation, they have not been able to go through that third part, apart from that exception of engineering colleges, which are habituated to do this under NBA, right? But we, the conventional art, science, commerce colleges have found it difficult. We'll try to make it simpler as we go into the third part of this workshop series that we are having. So today our job will be to understand the basics of what programs are, what courses are. Even yesterday I was visiting somewhere and one of the fellows asked me, sir, what actually is a program and what actually is a course? So please excuse me if I go too much into basics, because as a teacher, my job is to make it clear to every teacher, every audience that I have. So we have around say.
That's a welcome move, sir. That's a welcome move. You may please go down to the basics. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Lily ma'am. So we are around 66 people here with me.
Yeah, so we have some friends from our neighboring colleges from Thane also.
That's wonderful, and that's really fine with me. So the 66th person also should be able to replicate the same exercise in their institution as well.
Right, sir.
Yeah. So we begin with the basics, and as I always say, this will be a little bit of copy paste for Anubhuti madam, because she has seen the same slides earlier. So she would feel that nothing has changed. But since this is a policy, since this is a practice, it won't change much.
No problem, sir. No problem.
Absolutely no problem.
She'll be too happy.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So it's a kind of revision for Anubhuti madam, but for others it can be new. This can hurt our ego. The whole exercise can hurt our ego, because some things that I would tell you, it will you will probably say, or you will feel that we have been doing this for ages and now you are suddenly asking us to do this, and aren't we teaching, or were not we teaching earlier? So sometimes it may hurt our ego as a teaching fraternity. So we have not been doing this exercise earlier. So blame it on the system whenever you feel hurt, right? So what we'll try to do today is understand the concept of OBE, the outcome-based education, which has now become an integral part of the whole education system, higher education system for that matter. So whether you look at CBCS or you look at learning outcome-based curriculum framework as given by UGC, LOCF, it is all outcome-based education. Then we will also look at how POs and COs are different, and how objectives and outcomes are different. Many times teachers, they tend to confused between objectives and outcomes. So we'll see what are the difference between objectives and outcomes. And then thirdly, we will see how we can write down the outcomes based on the graduate attributes as being given in the LOCF document of UGC. Even AICT has given those graduate attributes also. But the problem is sometimes we do not do that basic study required for it. And therefore, many of us, we do not know what is written in LOCF. And that's why the outcomes go wrong. Now, the reason why all of us are sitting together is, of course, this question given by NAC. If probably NAC had not given this question, we would not have pondered upon it. But because this has come out as an important question in NAC manual carrying 15 marks each, so it becomes very, very important for us. Even a few minutes back, I was updating my AQR 2021 and I was writing the same answer. POs, COs, how do you communicate the PO/CO? How is the attainment carried out and all. So this is the reason. One, NAC is asking you to state the program outcomes, course outcomes, and make all your teachers and students aware of it. So first thing that we need to understand is, of course, the difference between the programs, courses, POs, PSOs, and COs. So let me make it very clear. Whenever we are saying programs, so in raw terms or crude terms related to a degree in BA, BCom, BSc, MA, MCom, BVoc, all of these are programs. So when I say program outcome, I'm expecting outcomes of a BA program, irrespective of what specialization it is. Whether it is Marathi, Hindi, economics, history, whatever BA it is, I am looking at BA as a whole. So if a student completes BA in any discipline, what would he come out with? What are those skills that he would come out with? That are program outcomes. So I'm repeating, program outcomes are outcomes related to a program such as BA, BCom, MA, MCom, MSc for that matter, right? Whether postgraduate or So even when you are submitting your AQARs, these questions, how many programs, new programs introduced? How many new courses introduced? So we need to understand difference between programs and courses. So this is the difference. BA is a program, or introducing a subject. Sociology is one of the principal subject probably you introduced this year. So you have introduced a course. If you introduce a certificate program, that probably is a course. It is not a program that you are. So that is one thing. Second thing is program specific outcome. When you start talking about some specialization, for example, BA in economics, you are talking about specialization, specification. So program specific outcome. What would a student be able to do if he graduates in economics? So now you are specific with a program, specific to a program. So program specific outcome, BA in economics. A student will be able to this. Program specific outcome. And you might be having 5, 6, 10, 24 papers in a subject. For example, if a student is doing BA in economics, in BA part 1, he might be having 3 or 4 papers. In BA part 2, he might be having 3 or 4 papers. In BA final year, he might be having 6 or 8 papers. I do not know what is the pattern in Mumbai University. But then whatever number of papers he's having, for example, one of the papers is micro and macroeconomics. So that is a course. So what is a student expected to learn or have skills regarding that particular course are course outcomes. For example, a commerce student might be having a paper on business economics or entrepreneurship. What is the expectation from the student with respect to that particular paper is course outcome. So you see how we go down. Starting from the title of the degree, that is the program, we gradually go down to the specialization, finally to that particular paper which is taught under that specialization. So maybe BSc in zoology, and then in the paper that we are referring to, maybe cell biology. I have given you an example of economics because I realized yours is an arts and commerce college. So I have deliberately given you an example from arts and commerce faculties. Now, when you draft your course outcome, will also come across, which you people already know. See, we know a lot. The question is, how do we apply? So you already know Bloom's taxonomy, right? We have already seen those action verbs, etc. But how do we apply them? So we will come across Bloom's taxonomy again as a part of this exercise that we are doing. Second, as I said, a complicated exercise is, of course, the attainment of the course outcome. So it is an exercise unless and until you bring in automation for this exercise. Manually doing this exercise will be very, very difficult. So in second or third session of this workshop, we will be discussing about how we can automate and do this exercise really very easily, the attainment of program outcomes and course outcome for that matter. Now, since you are an autonomous college, just like ours, so you realize that whatever we sow is what we reap. If our curriculum is good, then only the outcome will be good, the students will be good. So take care that you complete the loop. Completion of the loop is when you're drafting your curriculum, then only you have been drafting your outcomes, right? When you revise your curriculum. So for example, this year we are revising our third year syllabus. So when I'm drafting my new syllabi, then only I have to, be very, very careful in drafting my course outcomes, because the course outcomes that I draft are directly linked to how I will evaluate my students. So if I'm probably writing that students will be able to define terms related to X, Y, Z, then I will have to ask similar questions in the internal or external evaluations that define these terms. If I do not ask those questions in the evaluation, then attainment of the outcomes will never be, ascertained. So be careful while drafting your outcomes in the syllabi documents that you are having. I will skip few slides because your institution is already doing well. So some of the basics I would be skipping, that we are expected to teach in the classroom, but also ensure that learning is taking place. And therefore, more than a teacher, we are a facilitator. So we all know this philosophy that we have to, join hands with the institution, facilitate those institutions so that they learn. Of course, as a part of our duty, we do teaching, but at the same time, we have to ensure that it is not about me, it is about the students. And therefore, my role becomes a designer to groom the students. So this is the way how I portrayed the things, that students come raw to you and then you have to, groom them so that when they go out completing a program in your institution, they are doing well with their system. So the question which I usually ask is, all of you can write down the answers to this question, except for Anubhuti Madam and those who have already participated in this workshop, is if I give you 3 inputs, the inputs are delivery, development, and topics. And of course, all of you are BOS members, right? Since you are an autonomous college, all of you are BOS members. So when you are sitting together to draft a revised syllabus, what are your inputs? If I give you 3 inputs, how would you arrange them? What is the first thing that you do in your curriculum delivery? Curriculum delivery has everything, right from designing the curriculum to deliver it into the class and finally evaluate. So what comes first? Is it development? Is it delivery? Or is it topics? You can, of course, answer this in the chat box. Or even you can unmute if you want. So what comes first? You are sitting down with your department fellow members of Board of Studies, and you have to draft a revised curriculum. What would you do?
Topics.
Topics, right? So obvious answer is, you firstly need to at least decide title of the course. Then when you decide title of the course, you would probably decide the units and their titles, unit 1, unit 2, unit 3, unit 4, etc. Once you have decided units, then probably you decide, okay, what will be the topic number 1, topic number 2, topic number 3, chapters, and so on. So this is how we usually frame our syllabus. Nothing wrong in doing that. But you believe me it or not, but many times I have seen, even in the conventional boards that are there in universities, many times people sit together, they draft the revised syllabus, and thereafter somebody says, अरे भाई syllabus तो हो गया, वो format है, उसमें objective लिखने पड़ते हैं. वो पहला ना शुरुआत में objective लिखो 5-6, फिर submit करो board chairman को. So we do whole exercise, and then we realize that we have to write down the objectives or the outcomes and then submit it. I tell you, because this question has come up in the NAAC manual, even Pune University boards, they have started writing down the POs and COs in their syllabus documents. Earlier, they were not yet writing. They were just writing 2 or 3 objectives. So things are changing because NAAC has probably made it compulsory for us to do it because of outcome-based education and in fact, the importance of the outcome-based education. So now, we have realized the importance of outcome-based education, which is not new. It is new to us, not new to world. This has been taking place in the earlier part of 2000s only. But it has come late in India. Thanks to UGC, at least it has come. So now we have different inputs. So you can have topics, then followed by the development of the syllabi, and finally you deliver it in your institution. That is called as topic-driven approach, which we have been following for years and years now. But the question is, now if we are following the outcome-based education, you will have different set of inputs. Some are common. For example, development and delivery is common. But then you have 2 more inputs, 2 different inputs. And what are those inputs? One is objectives and another is strategy and design. So I will not take your time in telling this. Yes, it is clear that you now have to begin with objectives and outcomes. Make the objectives and outcomes very clear what you actually want your students to do, right? For example, if I am teaching zoology, I am offering some curriculum to the students. I should be very clear with my thought process that what I want my graduated students to do once they, graduate out from my college. And therefore, I have to decide what I want to give to the students. And accordingly, then I can introduce various papers. Then accordingly, I can include various topics in my syllabus. That was not happening. Many times I have seen people bringing in the topics and units because of their comfort. I'm comfortable in teaching this. I have instruments related to this. That is why we will keep this topic in the syllabus. It is not what we are comfortable with. It is about what students should get so that they become employable in the society, right? So deciding your objectives first, but then you have to also talk about the strategy and design of that curriculum. You have something to teach. You have decided what objectives you have decided what outcomes, but how will you make this reach to the students? You have to, I mean, there are so many teaching methods, there are so many learning methods we all talk about. We are answering the NAC, AQAR and SSR also, experiential learning, problem solving methods and so on. So there are different methods. What is that method that you decided is suitable for delivering something to the student? What is that method that you have decided? So you have to strategize the delivery as well. So once you have decided the strategy, then you accordingly develop your whole system of curriculum design and development, and then finally deliver it to the students. This is called as backward design approach. Now, why this is called as backward design approach? Because usually what we used to do was decide the syllabus first, the content of the syllabus first, and then write down the objectives. But now what we have done is decide the objectives first and then come down to the delivery. So this is called as backward design approach. Now, why so much of theory that I'm telling you? Remember, you have to answer qualitative question 2.6.1 and 2.6.2. As I told you a few minutes back, I was writing my AQAR. So when I will write down this theoretical aspect, NAC people will also realize that it is not out of blue that I am implementing something in my institution. We have done a lot of basic study required for outcome-based education. Therefore, we have come down to this process, right? Okay. So then going to that outcome-based education, again, what outcome-based education is, and that outcome-based education is moving away from, it is a shift, and it is a shift from the usual practice that we were having. And in that usual practice that we were having, what was important was, accumulation of course credits. Even now, every student is wondering about those 8 additional credit he has to get. There was a news yesterday from Pune University that the dates for examination might be delayed because there is a problem with accumulation of credits. The students have not been able to accumulate those credits. They need some time. Everybody is so fond of SWAYAM and MOOCs now, and their results are getting delayed. So sometimes the results are delayed just because of MOOCs and SWAYAMs. Right? So it was all about accumulation of credit. NSS से एक ले लो, study tour से एक ले लो, यहाँ से ले लो, वहाँ से ले लो, हो गए, अच्छा पास हो गए. But then we have to focus more on restructuring of curriculum. And then again in NAC manual, there is a question. What are the efforts for integration of IT and examination reforms with respect to processes and procedures in evaluation? Right? So assessment has to change accordingly as well. Whether it is LMS that you are using, whether it is offline tests that you are taking, whether it is the pattern of questioning. There's so many ways in which you can question the students. You need that brainstorming to happen in the students. And for that, you have to carefully draft your question. And then comes the reporting practices. Now, how your reporting practices have changed. If you again see what happened in the earlier methodology of NAC, they used to ask us what is the pass percentage of the students in your institution. So our simple practice was have the name of the student, have the marks, percentage of marks that student has got, and classify them into students with first class, students with first class with distinction, students with pass class, and students who failed. So total number of students appeared in the examination 85, total number of students passed with in distinction is 72, students failed 2. This was our result analysis. We never actually focused on if 2 students are failing, why are they failing? If there are some 12, 25 or 30 students who are passing but in higher second class or only in pass class, what is the reason they could not get first class? We never looked into that. What is the thing that they are missing? Why were they not getting 50% of remaining marks? So where were they losing those 50% of marks? What was the reason behind that? So we have to change our reporting practices. Instead of just going for pass class, second class, first class, distinction, we have to now focus on what is that thing which is lacking in the student and so attainment of outcomes. And therefore our focus now is on higher order learning when we follow the Bloom's taxonomy. So our focus will be more on whether the student is able to remember, whether the student is able to understand, whether the student is able to analyze, evaluate, create, etc., that we see in the Bloom's taxonomy. So this is how this shift, as of course I told you, we have been seeing. Our job now is not to teach. Student can, I always tell, even yesterday, Those students who did not attend the class in my subject, they got more marks, and the students who were attending the class got less marks. So honestly, I sometimes feel that what I teach in the classroom, it does not matter, because whatever material I have uploaded on LMS, students can read it and appear for the examination, still get the marks. This is what we do even when we are appearing for Arpit examination, right? Somebody is uploading some YouTube video from some university. We go through that video, appear for the examination and clear our refresher courses, right? So our job now is to help the students to develop that ability of learning. And that is what we call as developing the learner competencies, learning to learn and keep learning, lifelong learning. Learning does not stop. And this is what we have been doing, right? The senior most people of our college, your college for that matter, are sitting right now and listening to me because they want to learn how we can write program outcomes correctly and how we can come down to attainment of programs. So we are still learning. And therefore, the focus is on, I would not tell the earlier three parts, the focus is on foresee the challenges. So challenge in front of me right now is outcome-based education. Challenge in front of me right now is NEP, where you would be having 3,000 or more students, where you would be having multidisciplinarity, where you would be having blended learning and so on. So that is the challenge. How will you cope up with those challenges? Now, this is the basic framework of outcome-based education that you might have seen elsewhere also. I've copied it with from the NBA manual, but with little modification. Little modification with respect to probably the conventional art, science, commerce colleges. So the story starts from the vision and mission of your institution. I was actually going through the website of your college, but you probably have not, or you have realized that Google has now stopped support for Flash. And therefore, I could see that some of the pages were not loading, and I could not go through your program outcomes also, and not also through maybe IQAC, some composition of IQAC, because Google has now stopped support for Flash. So any of your components which are uploaded through Flash are probably not going to run. So something that all of us need to take care of. Right. So if you have a vision and mission, for example, vision statement of my institution is spread knowledge unto the last. So this is that engine which is driving me, spreading knowledge unto the last. Everything that I am doing is because I have a motto, I have a vision, spread knowledge unto the last. I want to take my education to the Jala Marathit Manta Talagala Paranta, to the every nook and corner of the society. And I have a mission. How would I achieve that vision? I have a defined mission as well. So I correlate my vision and mission with something that has been given to me by UGC and AICTE. AICTE, of course, in case of the colleges or the programs which are offered by AICTE, in our case, UGC. Now, for that graduate attributes, GA, graduate attributes, you will have to go through that document called as LOCF. You can easily get that document. If you Google it, LOCF UGC, you will get that document.
It is there with me, sir.
Yeah, great. That's
I'm sitting with it.
Yeah, that's really great. So you would see that there are 15 such graduate attributes. And because I have been delivering this talk again and again, I have almost by heart this 15 graduate attributes. So starting from disciplinary knowledge, which is the first thing that you expect, right? If I'm doing science, BSc, I should have knowledge of science. If I'm doing commerce, I should have basic knowledge of commerce. If I'm doing arts, I should have basic knowledge of arts, humanities, and social sciences, right? So disciplinary knowledge. And the last one is lifelong learning. And in between, there are many. For example, communication
skills.
Yes, problem solving, analytical reasoning, scientific reasoning, right? So there are 15 such, and research, ethics, team, working in team, leadership. These are some 15 qualities a graduate student is expected to have once he graduates or during his graduation. These are called as graduate attributes. Now, the problem with drafting program outcomes is that I see is most of the colleges never started with graduate attributes. They did not read graduate attributes, and they thought that I have to write some statements. So I will write statements. If I'm writing program outcomes for BA, I will write something about arts. If I'm writing program outcomes for science, I will write something about science, what a science student is expected to do. But there is a clear-cut guideline. And that clear-cut guideline is LOCF UGC document with 15 graduate attributes. So as simple as you can write down some 15 program outcomes, or you can merge them to come down to 10 to 12 program outcomes also. That is what we will discuss later on. So you have your graduate attributes deciding the program outcomes. But then program outcomes should be helpful for you in drafting your course outcomes also, because there has to be a clear correlation between course outcomes and program outcomes. This is something that we need to remember. These two things do not work in isolation. Whatever course outcomes you are writing, you should have program outcomes in your mind, back of your mind, while drafting your course outcomes. So idea is probably the IQAC coordinator or the vice principal of the concerned faculty should first write down the program outcomes and circulate it to all the departments, all the teachers, so that they are aware of what is expected after completion of the program. And then teachers will accordingly draft their course outcome, keeping in mind that their course outcome are somewhere matching the requirements of the programs. It is simple, like a teamwork that happens for like a cricket match that you have. A cricket team has a wicket keeper, a cricket team has batsman, a cricket team has bowler, a cricket team has fielder, right? And all of them are playing cricket. So if all of them contribute, a fielder contributes, a batsman contributes, a bowler contributes, and a wicket keeper plays, then only team can work. Similarly, when the course outcomes, all of them come together, then only program outcomes can be achieved. Or in other words, I would say that getting a degree in BA is sum total of the studies in all the subjects. So student is studying languages, student is taking some subject from social sciences, humanities, mental and moral sciences, and everything is coming together for those set of outcomes which have been described for BA. All subjects are contributing. Therefore, program outcomes, these are related with course outcomes. When you have decided with this framework on the left-hand side, then you go into the classroom. So this is what I was talking about in the earlier slide, strategizing. This is the strategy. Once you have decided this, that what is my vision and mission? What are the graduate attributes that I have to address? Accordingly, have I draft the program outcomes? Do I have a set of outcomes for the course that I'm going to teach? Then after this, I go into the classroom and accordingly, I deliver the syllabus. I use the various teaching and learning methodologies. I use the various assessment tools. Everything of this will be defined by the outcomes that I have. And finally, of course, in the last part of this exercise, we look at the attainment, whether the course outcomes or the program outcomes have been attained or not. And if not attained, I always tell to my students, and all of you would agree, the percentage of marks that we get, for example, I got 77% marks in MSc, right? So I wonder if I got 77% marks in MSc, that means I could not imbibe 23% stuff. So I lack 23% thing. So I get 60% marks in an examination. That means 40% is something that I do not know. So what is that 40% that I do not know? So if my student is not knowing that 40%, what is that 40%? And accordingly, you bring in the improvements. Where do you bring in the improvements? You bring in the improvements in syllabus. You bring in the improvement in teaching methods. You bring in the improvement in learning activities. You bring in the improvements in assessment tools. And of course, that is followed by outcomes again. So this cycle goes on and on based on the feedbacks that you are getting from industries, professional organizations, etc. So I hope you have understood the importance of this whole process. I will not now go into the details of vision and mission, how a nice vision and mission should be. because you are already having vision and mission statement with you. But then talking about this graduate attributes, I told you that there are some 15 graduate attributes given by UGC, which Dr. Bhushan ma'am said that she has already that document with her. So you see disciplinary knowledge, problem solving, cooperation, teamwork, information, digital literacy, moral and ethical awareness, communication skills, analytical reasoning, scientific reasoning, self-directed learning ability, leadership qualities, lifelong learning, and blah, blah, blah. Now here onwards, I will be little slow because now we are going beyond basics. Now we'll apply the basics. So if you have 15 program outcomes, we can draft 15 statements. And because Deepti madam is IQAC coordinator, so of course everybody is looking forward to what Deepti madam would do after this whole exercise. So she would feel a little burdened that I will have to write those program outcomes. So what I did, Deepti madam, yes, sometimes, distribution of work sometimes creates a chaos. So for comfort purpose, if we can write down the whole set of POs by science also, by of arts also, it helps sometimes. But in IQAC, I had members from commerce and arts also. So I took their help and they wrote down a set of outcomes for me, and I wrote down the outcomes of science. So this is how we distributed in our institution. Then if you open up this ebook, Deepti madam, you will see that there is a description to these graduate attributes in that ebook. So what is disciplinary knowledge? That has been written there. You just have to replace the terms pertaining to your faculty in that description which has been given, right? So you can replace discipline with arts, humanities, and social science, with commerce and management, with science and technology, and get the program outcomes for science, commerce, and arts respectively. So I'm telling you few shortcuts how you can simply do a job without much of difficult work that you had to do. Okay, so you would define program outcomes as narrower statements. Now, why I'm saying narrower statement? The graduate attributes that we saw were very, very broad statements or phrases. Disciplinary knowledge. So very broad statement. What is that discipline? So then you actually narrow down your statement and start talking about maybe science, maybe arts, maybe commerce. Then you are narrowing it down, right? And as I said, these are aligned with the graduate attributes, focusing or describing the knowledge, skills, and behaviors of the student. But mind you, when you are writing down these outcomes, specifically the program outcomes and the course outcomes, you ensure that these are measurable. We all know those SMART goals, right? SMART goal kind of the stuff. So measurable, specific, and achievable. We have to ensure that whatever outcomes we are writing are measurable, achievable, and specific. I'm taking a pause because now I want you to follow it very carefully so that when you draft your program outcomes, you are 100% correct this time. Because as an autonomous college, now responsibility or the onus is with us. We cannot go wrong now. Now, few examples of how we can write down the program outcomes or how we can improve upon program outcomes. So sometimes we tend to write down very basic statements such as this one, disciplinary knowledge. The first statement or program outcome that one may write is the student will be able to understand science. Very vague. So any such statement is unacceptable. Then somebody wants to improve upon it and says that student will be able to understand the principles of science and their application. Quite a bit of improvement. Then you can further improve upon it. The student will be able to understand the principle of science and apply them to solve the scientific problems. Even better. And finally, if given the scientific discipline, you do not know what discipline it is, whether it is physical science, whether it is earth science, whether it is mathematical science, whether it is chemical science, or whether it is biological science, you don't know. So once you make sure you give the conditions, so if given the scientific discipline, The student will be able to understand the principles and apply them to solve the scientific problem. Now you are talking really, really specifically. In the meanwhile, there is a question. Let me take this question. Please allow me to take questions in between also. Sir, what about affiliated college, since the course and curriculum is already prescribed by the affiliated university? How does one go about drafting POs and COs and PSOs? Yes, this is the right question. We also had a similar kind of situation even now, because the third year syllabus that we have this year is the syllabus provided by university, and unfortunately have been really poorly drafted by the board of studies, because they have not understood the whole idea of writing the program outcomes and COs. Nevertheless, then you can, Savitha ma'am, you can write down the program outcomes and the course outcome from the scratch for your institution. Agree that university has given you a set of objectives, outcomes for that matter. But if those outcomes are not correct, then how would you do justice with them? So you can draft your own set of program outcomes and course outcome and use them in evaluation, internal evaluation. Because when we associate this with the external evaluation, you are not the one who is going to draft the question papers in line with the course outcome. And therefore, definitely you can ensure that you use the course outcomes or the program outcomes drafted by you in your internal evaluation, so that you can meet with the expectations. I hope I have answered your question. Okay, see some examples, common mistakes that we see while drafting the program outcomes. We have to realize that program outcomes and program specific outcomes are different, right? So you really need to take care whether you are writing the program specific outcomes or the program outcomes. So here you see that somebody has written the program outcomes for chemistry. So these will be program specific outcomes written correctly here. Program specific outcome, BSc chemistry, right? So the mistake that has taken place is PO. It should have been PSO, not PO. If you are writing specifically for chemistry, it will be PSO. So it should have been labeled as PSO. That is one thing. Now, another thing that you see here is program outcomes for BCom. Some college has written that those program outcomes for BCom. Now, here I'm talking about that vagueness, that student will be able to. Now, if you complete this statement, there is no correlation. The student will be able to in-depth knowledge. So it does not make any sense. The statement does not make any sense. And secondly, it is probably not in tune with the graduate attributes. So do you see things related to graduate attribute coming in that sequence? Probably no. So you'll have to follow the graduate attributes number one. And then when you start with that initial part of the primary sentence, after completing BCom, the student will be able to. Then after able to, there has to be action verb. Able to work, able to inculcate, able to build, able to use. So in all these four cases, PO3, 4, 5, 6, there is an action verb. So you should be having an action verb. एक क्रिया होनी चाहिए. I can see there are a lot of people from non-Marathi background also. So एक क्रिया होनी चाहिए वहां पर, एक action verb होना चाहिए. So work, inculcate. So statement will start with an action verb. Remember this. Student will be able to, and then action verb. What he will be able to, right? So this is something basic that I wanted to tell you. Not giving more examples, I will straight away switch to the program outcomes that I have in my institution, right? And this is how probably you can also draft those program outcomes. So when we complete this whole exercise of drafting the program outcomes, and we come down to the attainment of program outcomes, you will have to find somebody who is responsible for monitoring this exercise, Deepti ma'am, for that matter. Now, monitoring means what? Somebody who would monitor the attainment of program outcomes, somebody who is monitoring the attainment of course outcomes. So therefore, you will have to assign this responsibility to, in this case, to a program coordinator. So program coordinator for maybe arts faculty, program coordinator for commerce faculty in your case, right? In my case, we have the vice principal of science faculty who is handling this responsibility. So vice principal of science faculty is the program coordinator. Name of the program is BSc. Name of the program can be MSc, right? So on the right hand side, I have graduate attributes, and on the left hand side, I have the statements pertaining to that. If Dr. Lily Bhushan madam is still having that document with her, she can easily see that I have copied some of the statements from the LOCF document, like this one, PO10, acquire knowledge and skills, including learning how to learn. But then I have also ensured that wherever necessary, I correlate this with the scientific discipline. So you see here, express what? Express scientific ideas. Then analyze what? Scientific observations.
Yes, sir.
Right? Do you agree, Dr. Bhushan ma'am?
Yeah.
Right. So I'm trying to make this exercise easier for you. Instead of deciding on your own what I have to draft, you have a ready-made document, LOCF. Use the terminologies in that LOCF document, and you have as many as 15 statements to draft. But now, as you can see here, I have merged critical thinking, analytical, and scientific reasoning together because I thought that they will be more or less addressed together in my institution. So if you feel so, you can merge them together and make a combined statement. So you see that the number of program outcomes is not 15, it is 12 here in my case. So somewhere else also I had merged maybe the moral and ethical awareness and reasoning, or somewhere cooperation and teamwork maybe. So I have merged two of graduate attributes again. So the number has gone down from 15 to PO12 in my case. It may also happen that one or two of these outcomes probably are not applicable to your faculty with the kind of syllabus you are offering to your students. I do not know. You are your best judges. So if you feel that some of this, maybe, for example, making the connections based on blah, 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 I mean, reflective thinking. If probably this is not something that you are addressing as a part of the courses that you are offering under a program, then you can omit it altogether. But the guideline for drafting program outcome is LOCF 15 graduate attributes. Am I clear with this? Do we have any questions on this till now?
So that means the program outcomes have to be at least around 12, 13 minimum, or maybe more than 10.
Correct. Yes, Deepti ma'am, you are raising your hand.
Sir, I see that yours is a commerce, science, and arts college, right? So,
right.
This is so. How do you if we have to stick to these 15 attributes and we have to take care of multiple disciplines? So how do you accommodate
multiple programs?
Yes. So I was wondering about that.
How do I accommodate?
Multiple programs into align them with these attributes.
Simple. For example, if you have same set of, finally you have same set of graduate attributes for commerce also, for arts also, and for science also. Even if a student is taking a BA, he is expected to have disciplinary knowledge. So maybe my statement will change and the student will be able to demonstrate comprehensive knowledge and understanding of mental moral sciences, languages, or humanities, or linguistics, or languages. So scientific discipline is replaced by the various other disciplines in the Faculty of Arts. Right. Similarly, if I have to address communication skills, here I was talking about observations, scientific ideas, data, etc. In case of commerce, you might be having data, but data pertaining to commerce, management, banking, finance, etc. So you can bring in terms like this: data pertaining to finance, management, business, banking. In arts, probably you would talk in terms of data related to surveys, right? Or observations related to literary terms or poems, or in Hindi they call it as Gadya and Padya, right? So whatever it is, accordingly, your terms here will change. but action verbs will remain same. And what is the focus? The focus is writing, orally communicate using appropriate media. So latter part of the statement remains same. The first part may change depending upon the discipline that you are in. I hope you are asking the same question and you're getting the right answer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I understood now.
So 1 minute, sir. So for your one program, that is BSc, you have 12 program outcomes, right?
Yes. Yes.
And that you have matched with, adjusted with the graduate attributes, 15 combined in 2 to 12.
Yes, correct.
So for one program, 12 POs.
Yes, 12 is a good number. You can have 10, 12, and you can also have 15. But we do not want to, make our exercise too tedious.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, shall I go ahead now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now, the good thing with this is, there are some 74 people with me right now. So all of you need not worry about it. Because all of you are not either vice principals or in charges of your faculty or head of the departments or IQAC coordinator, right? Many of you would be the faculty members in your respective departments. So this is something that that probably your think tank will sit together and come up with a draft. Of course, with the consultation of various heads of the departments, because they are the best judges of their courses and programs. So you will consult with your head of the departments, the vice principals that you are having, and sit together and draft these statements. So if you have understood this, what I have said just now, it will take probably at the most 45 minutes or so. If you have those LOCF besides you, it will take 45 minutes or so to come up with a set of program outcomes for a particular discipline. Okay, Deepti ma'am. So don't worry if you still feel that you have gone wrong with earlier set of program outcomes. I could not read them. Maybe what program outcomes you are having, they might be as good as what I'm expecting from you. But in case you feel that probably you have faltered, then don't worry, it will take 45 minutes, maximum 45 minutes. So even tomorrow you will be ready with your program outcomes to be uploaded on your website or in your AQR. Don't worry about it. Okay. Then
so sorry to interrupt you at
please,
this
madam,
point.
it's your right.
I'm Dr. Savita. So, sir, I've been going through and taking down the notes as well with regard to the POs and all that. So my question is that the program outcomes should be drafted right at the beginning of the academic year. So this is point number one. And secondly, should we prepare program outcomes every year fresh, or would it be for the 5 years?
Now, I can see from your question, you are not from an autonomous college. True.
No, so we are an affiliated college.
Right. So I will answer it differently for autonomous college as well as affiliated college.
Sure, sir. Yeah.
Point number one is, of course, yes, you should have set of program outcomes as soon as you launch a program. So it is not you in your case who is launching the program. You introduce this program on behalf of your university into your institution. So as soon as you initiate this program, maybe a degree, BA, BSc, BCom, whatever, in your institution, you should have set of program outcomes ready. And those program outcomes will continue to remain like that till your syllabus is revised. Right? But program outcomes do not see much of change even after the syllabus is revised, because the broad expectation from a graduating student in, say, arts, commerce or science remains same. Whether you change one paper here and there, title of the paper, or one unit here and there, the broad expectations, for example, disciplinary knowledge of management, finance, human resource development, entrepreneurship, it will remain same for commerce and management people. Am I right, Savita ma'am? Right, Savita ma'am, are you following me? Right. So I do not know, maybe she is not able to connect or unmute, but this is how it goes.
Yes, sir. Sorry, I got your point. I'm from the arts faculty from the Department of English. So next year, there will be a syllabus revision for the SYBA literature course, which means that, and now the university syllabus of University of Mumbai, because I'm also part of the syllabus framing
That's right.
committee. So
Yes.
we do prepare the preamble, the objectives, and also the course outcomes. So as you mentioned, there is a broad framework. So from the broad framework, as a faculty member, plus I'm also part of criteria too. So I'll be preparing the program outcome based on the LOCF and the graduate attributes, the way I saw your college document that you had just posted. So
Yes.
there may be a possibility that I may have maybe 10 program outcomes, which is perfectly fine depending on my subject.
Yes,
So
yes.
there's no hard and fast rule that it has to be 12 or 15 as such.
Yeah. There is no hard and fast rule, but I'll correct you a bit. Program outcomes not depending on your subject. Program outcomes.
Yeah,
is
arts program.
of all the disciplines together.
Yes,
Yeah, arts,
yes.
like you said.
Yes. So we have, for example, commerce, science, arts. Then we have the self-finance, self-funded programs also. So there
Yes.
will be the program outcomes for each one of them.
Yes,
So
yes.
arts means whatever subjects we teach under the arts faculty, all of that put together will be the program outcome. I
Right.
hope I'm very clear.
BA,
Yes,
MA.
you are.
Yeah, I got it. Yes.
Yes. So the first statement that I made for arts was that the student will have disciplinary knowledge related to mental, moral sciences, humanities, languages, etc.
Correct.
So everything comes together.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So
Right.
yes. And the last part of your question was for autonomous colleges, they will revise their curriculum in 3 years.
Correct. Yes.
But again, the point is that program outcomes probably will not change much. Say, for example, leadership, whether you change the courses, leadership has to come into the student. Whether you change the syllabus, research attitude has to come into the student.
Right.
Whether you change the course, communication skill has to come into this. Right? So POs won't change much with the discipline. But yes, as we will see later, course outcomes will definitely change with the change in the content.
Yeah. Right, sir. Yeah.
Right? Okay. Now, now this is wonderful exercise that we are doing right now on this present slide. All of you can carefully, whenever you think or whenever you're wondering whether the statement that you have written is right or wrong, ask questions. And what are those questions? For example, look at this statement which has been given here. And the statement says the original learning outcome is, upon successful completion of this program, student will be exposed to case studies documenting the use of ethical reasoning in daily decision. Carefully read this statement. Student will be. Our opening statement was student will be. And then it follows, exposed to case studies documenting the use of ethical reasoning in daily sciences. So ask questions. Whether this statement is the correct program outcome that you have drafted. Asking question, first question is there any action which is done by the student in this statement? You can also write down in the chat box. Do you think any action has been done by the student in this case, in this statement? Student will be exposed to case studies. Savita ma'am is from English. Do you think, Savita madam, there is any action which is taking place by the student?
Exposed, is it an action verb? I don't think so.
Correct. Action is not exposed is not an action verb. There's something happening, but passively. Something happening, but passively. Student is not doing it. He's getting exposed.
Yeah.
Not on his own. He's getting exposed. He's not doing anything to get exposed. Right? So is the action done by the student? The answer is no. The action is not done by the student. But the faculty who is present, faculty is the one who is presenting the case study. So once your answer is no to the first question, out and out, your program outcome is not correctly drafted. So first way of checking your program outcome is to check whether the action has been done by the student or not. Am I clear with this?
Yes, yes.
The second one is the specified action observable? Read the statement again. Student will be exposed to case studies documenting the use of ethical reasoning in daily decision. Documenting the use of ethical reasoning. Documenting. So if he is documenting, then the documents are available for you to observe, and therefore the answer is yes, the action is observable. So you may not change this part of your program outcome. This is okay. Third question that you will ask, can the specified action be measured using direct measures of student learning? The student will be exposed. Can you measure how much, to what extent the student is exposed? It's like, sitting in sun on a sea beach and see how much he has got tanned. So you cannot measure how much he's been exposed, the student, right? And so the answer is no. I cannot measure the exposure, the extent to which the student has been exposed. So point number one, I have to ensure that I include action verb. Point number two, I have to ensure that whatever statement I'm making should be observed, can be observed rather. And point number three, whatever action I'm talking about with respect to that student can be measured by direct measurement of student learning. So when I say the student will be able to communicate in English, can we measure? Yes, the answer is yes. If I ask him orally, what is your name? And if he can speak, yes, my name is Srihari Pingale, he can communicate in English. So I can measure. I can measure to what extent my answer was correct grammatically. I can measure and I can give 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 5. So if you get yes for all these 3 questions, your program outcomes are 100% right. So to summarize, I would say 4 things you have to do. 1, graduate attributes and answer these 3 questions. So on 4 levels, if you are right, your program outcomes are right. And like Savita ma'am said, she has understood it correctly now. And I'm sure once she goes back to her institution, she'll be able to write the program outcomes on behalf of her institution and also the board of studies which she's working for. Shall we go ahead now?
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Yes. Now we come down to the second part, drafting your program specific outcome. The simplest way of writing your program specific outcomes is, yes, Janvi madam, please go ahead with a question. Janvi Joshi madam.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
A very, very knowledge enhancing session. So I had a doubt over here. Like
1 minute, sir. KES teachers, 1 minute, Janvi. KES
Yes,
teachers, please put your video on. Continue, Janvi.
Thank you, ma'am. Sir, I had a question. The way we had listed earlier, they are graduate attributes. So I was noticing few attributes which are actually applicable to our program, that is BMS. So there are some things like ethics that we develop in students, managerial skills, leadership skills. Now, when it comes to measure that, how much ethical a student has become, don't you think measuring it is a big challenge? I mean, maybe English, you have something where you can directly find it out. But being ethical, being a good leader, having good managerial skills, these are something which are not directly measurable. So should we include it in our outcomes or not?
Yes, we should include in our outcomes. And therefore, as we go down into the third part of this workshop, we will see that there are 2 methods of measuring the attainment of the program outcome. One which is called as direct method of attainment and another one which is called as indirect method of attainment.
Okay.
We give due weightage to the indirect and direct method. And in indirect method, we go on taking an exit survey from the students and ask them whether they could, imbibe that ethics in them during their program. So that is one way of doing it. Second way of doing it is, can you bring in some exercises where you check? Now, these are observable things. For example, students do breach ethics even in sciences, mostly in sciences also. So whenever they are writing the journals that we give them for practicals, they just copy their journals, right? So that is breach of ethics. So I can actually observe that they are breaching ethics. So that can be monitored in this way also. So a lot of reports that you are doing. What is your subject, Janvi madam, for that matter?
Sir, actually my subject is, I teach management subjects with an expertise of human resources. So that is why this question came in my mind. Like, for example, noticing leadership skills. Now, how do I measure leadership skills in students?
Yes. Now, see, leadership skills, for example, you are conducting a group discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, group discussion is also part of evaluation and assessment method. One of the major problem is when we are talking about this exercise, people tend to forget that there are so many evaluation methods. It is not only about, the question paper, answer paper writing stuff. So when a student is taking part in maybe a group discussion or presenting a seminar, so in a group discussion, opening a topic maybe or concluding it, etc., you may come across the leadership, or if you have given a participative method of doing some exercise, then you may come across the leadership skills of the students.
Okay.
Similarly, if you have given certain case studies, again, some students who are bright, they come up with a case study, they write it very, very nicely, and then remaining 4 students in the group, they said that copy kar leta hu jara, change the name and submit it.
Correct.
So you can come across such things also during your assessment methods. And secondly, as I said, there are certain things beyond your control, so you can monitor them through indirect method. Janvi madam.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So now when you are writing the program specific outcomes, remember from BA, now we are coming down to, I'm repeatedly telling BA because if you have a story, if you are following the same set of heroine, you try to, follow a movie, right? So BA is the hero today. So BA, now we are gradually shifting from BA to various subjects or various specialization that your institution is offering. For example, BA in Hindi, BA in Marathi, BA in English, BA in economics, BA in political science, and so on. Now, head of the departments, their responsibilities come. So they will draft around 3 to 4 statements. 3 to 4 statements. And they can be absolutely different from what I have written here, because many of you might not be able to correlate with what I have written. It is pure zoology that I have written here. But I will try to make you familiar or comfortable with your subject. So head of the departments will sit along with the faculty members of their department and write down 4 very broad statements specific to their subject, what we would say, or specific to their specialization. So for example, somebody from English would write one statement, number 1 statement specific to English as a subject. Now, English teachers who are teaching English, for that matter, they are teaching some papers at first year level, some papers at second year level, some papers at third year level. So your statement will be a summary of the disciplinary knowledge brought through teaching of English at all 3 levels, first year, second year, third year. Like in my case, I have written a program specific outcome for zoology. My student should be able to identify and classify animals of various invertebrate and vertebrate phyla up to class level. That means all sorts of animals. So I study all sorts of animals from first year BSc to final year BSc. So you should be able to address and classify all the animals, whether it is first year, second year, third year. So similarly, English people might be having prose and poetry as one of the papers. They might be having maybe Shakespeare and one of his novel. So include everything that you do broadly in a statement and say that student will be able to do this, and that will be with relation to the discipline, that particular discipline, knowledge of English. So economics people will write a broad statement with respect to knowledge of economics. Commerce people, if they are having a paper on business management, they will write a statement with respect to business management. If they are having a paper on costing, they will write a statement with relation to costing only. I hope you are all getting it. Deepti madam, are you all following me? So first, program specific outcome will be related to your discipline. Point number 1. Point number 2 is the statement which will be related to the professional skills pertaining to that particular subject. If I am teaching zoology, I am getting some theoretical aspects out of it, but there are some technical skills that I might be getting from zoology. There are some technical skills that one might be getting from commerce, for that matter. There are some technical skills like translation that one might be getting from students who are learning languages, right? So for example, commerce, the income tax, writing the ledgers, income expenditure statements, form 16, etc., etc. So what are the technical skills that the students should be able to learn after completing a BCom program? Technical skills that a student would be getting after completing the BA program. Technical skills, BA in that particular subject for that matter, right? BSc in zoology, what are the technical skills that a student would be getting after completing BSc in zoology? So first statement is disciplinary knowledge again. Second is the professional and technical skill that you would get after completion of program in that particular specialization, subject role. Point number one, disciplinary knowledge. Second, technical skills. Third is research. Third, program specific outcome will focus on research in that particular subject. Remember, in program outcomes, you also talked about research aptitude, but that research aptitude was in science, was in commerce, was in arts. But now when you are talking about program specific outcome, that research in zoology, in English, in Hindi, in Marathi, or in commerce maybe for that matter, whatever subject you might be having. And the fourth program specific outcome will focus on how will the student take that subject to the society. How will that subject be taken to the society? For example, I have not mentioned here, I could have written program specific outcome number 4, that student will apply the principle of sciences or zoological sciences in society through vermicomposting, through hemoglobin estimation camp, through identification of species, etc., etc. So how can I do services to the society with the knowledge that I have in that particular subject will be the fourth outcome. I'm repeating, first program specific outcome will be disciplinary knowledge. Second program outcome will be the technical or hard skills, which we call professional skills pertaining to that subject. Third, program specific outcome will be with respect to research in that particular area. Remember, you are referring to subject. And fourth specific outcome will be how can you correlate with the society after having taken up specialization for that program, BA in economics for that matter. Am I clear till this?
Yes.
So now we have completed with the understanding of program outcomes and program specific outcomes. Yes. I hope there are no problems with this. So Deepti Muzumdar madam, she has raised the hand. Deepti madam, do you have any questions?
Yes, sir. Good evening. I am Deepti Muzumdar from Patkar College.
Yeah.
And being the controller of examinations in that college, my question is more to do with the kind of evaluation pattern. I'm sure you will be talking about it later,
Yes.
but as you were talking about the graduate attributes and the program outcomes and the program specific outcomes, when we are going to assess them in either in continuous evaluation or in the semester end exams, are there any specific techniques in which we can set the papers also, which can bring out these attributes as well as the outcomes? Because that is where the real testing actually, when it comes to awarding degree takes place.
Yes, you are absolutely right. And you only started with the statement that probably you would cover this in the latter part of the workshop. Yes, I'll be covering it. But the point is, like I was giving you an example of a cricket team where you say that the Indian team was playing really well because the bowlers did their job, because the batsmen did their job, the wicketkeeper did well, fielders were doing fantastically well, and therefore India could win, right? So similarly here, the attainment of the program outcome is governed by attainment of the course outcomes. So as of now, we have not reached till course outcome. So once you draft the course outcome, say for example, if you write in commerce, I do not know your subject. What is your subject, ma'am?
I'm the head of English department.
English department, right?
Yes.
So if one of your outcomes is that student would be able to write a sentence correctly with punctuations and grammatically correct, etc., etc., etc. So then you will have to give a question in your, you need to have some method of assessment where you would ask them to write a statement and punctuate them. Am I right? So your
Yes,
question paper or method of evaluation has to be decided on the basis of what your course outcomes are. And therefore, in my college, we have a practice that we give them a format for question paper also.
Okay.
I would have actually shown you that also. Even right now, we have our question paper setting exercise going on. So BOEE, who invites me as an invitee member of from the IQAC, they take my suggestion. The suggestion that I have given is, you please make a format for question paper so that it includes all the levels of the Bloom's taxonomy, number one. So there has to be a question on understanding, there has to be a question on evaluation, analysis, etc., etc. Number one. Number two, make sure that all your questions, they are addressing the course outcomes at some level. See, like one of the teachers, Janvi madam, was saying that sometimes you cannot ask a question which can be quantified in a written examination. So maybe you can conduct an oral examination and see the communication skill. Maybe you can have a case study and see how the leadership skills are. I hope I am answering your question, right?
Yes, yes, sure, sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes. So yes, that will of course come in the later part, but your evaluation pattern has to be strictly in line with day before yesterday. I guess Deepti madam or Anubhuti madam was in touch with me and asking me what should be the title of this workshop. So I have given that number 2, that mapping the program outcomes and course outcomes with each other, and then evaluation also. So that evaluation and course outcome coming together is very, very important, right? Going ahead. And this will take some time for us to realize that, yeah, this is how it goes. So now we are coming down to the second part that we will cover up today, drafting the course outcomes. So in the second part, initially, we will take a brief review of Bloom's taxonomy, which all of you now know, I'm sure. Some 4 or 5 years we have been talking about Bloom's taxonomy ever since this question has cropped up in NAAC's manual. But for a few minutes, we'll go through Bloom's taxonomy, and then we'll talk and understand the importance of, yes, Dr. Arun sir, higher order and lower order, yes, correct. So see, as I said, no, everybody now knows Bloom's taxonomy. There have been so many workshops that have been conducted on Bloom's taxonomy. So we'll not spend much time on Bloom's taxonomy, but try to understand the importance of applying that Bloom's taxonomy in drafting the course.
Sure, sir, sure.
Yeah. And correlate course outcome with your evaluation, madam. There comes this question which earlier professor was asking. Evaluation methods, very, very important. And as I was also talking about the challenges, foresee the challenges and shoulder them. So there is this challenge coming up, which is academic banks of credits. We should be aware of what is going to happen with academic bank. Even that academic bank of credits is talking about learning outcomes. So everything is revolving around these learning outcomes. The present system of higher education is more focused on students. And when the focus is on students, there is a lot of responsibility which comes on us. No, we are responsible for the every penny that we are getting. Whether we are grantable, whether we are non-grantable, it does not matter. So revise Bloom's taxonomy. Now, why revise Bloom's taxonomy? We have been talking about action verb, what actually the student is doing. So you see, even Benjamin Bloom, see, in 1950s, he had propounded this Bloom's taxonomy, which we say that now is revised Bloom's taxonomy. He used actually the nouns. So try to understand the basic also. The student should have knowledge, comprehension, application. These are all abilities. So he used the nouns. And then in these set of nouns that were used, synthesis used to come down and evaluation used to come at the top. But then in early 2000s, many educationists, they realized that synthesis something is very, very difficult. It happens at probably the last stage of your education. and they replaced the term synthesis with create. And the reason one, it is not noun, then they shifted from nouns to the verb. So knowledge now has become remember, action verb. Comprehension becomes action verb, understand. The student will be able to, application nahi, student will be able to apply. Student will be able to analysis nahi, student will be able to analyze. Student will be able to synthesis nahi, student will be able to synthesize or create. Student will be able to evaluation, not process. Student will be able to evaluate action. So as I said, whole focus is on what a student will be able to do. We have to monitor what a student will be able to do. That is the basic difference between objectives and outcomes. So when you are talking about objectives, you are talking more in terms of what a teacher will do. And when you are talking in terms of outcomes, you are talking what a student will be able to do. So that is where we have changed. So we say, so all of these things will help you in drafting your AQR also, right? That 200 word answer that you will be writing in AQR before 1st of February. So you'll write the reason why you are referring to certain thing. So you have shifted from Bloom's taxonomy to revised Bloom's taxonomy. Don't just write Bloom's taxonomy. It is a revised Bloom's taxonomy that we are following today, right? Then going ahead. So when you're talking about this revised Bloom's taxonomy, you should also understand what are you expecting from your students very quickly. So when you're talking about remembering, you are expecting your students to recall the facts. When you are asking him to understand things or you're expecting him to understand things, then you want him to explain the ideas or the concepts. The simplest thing is, once this workshop or for today's workshop is over, when somebody asks you, "Acha, wo Pingle sir aaye the, kya bataya bhai unhone?" If you are able to narrate it, that means you have understood it. So understanding is whether you can explain the ideas, whether you can explain the concept. That probably what I'm doing. So if I can explain it, you would say, he has a clear understanding about it. अगर मैं explain नहीं कर रहा होता तो आप कहते कि किसको बुला लिया था, वो अनुभूति मैम ने क्या बताया तो बहुत कुछ था, इनको तो कुछ आता नहीं. So I'm explaining because I probably have understanding about it. Then can I apply it? I have understanding, right? But in spite of having that understanding, if I cannot write the program outcomes, then application is lacking. So having understanding is one thing and applying that understanding is another thing. I have understanding. No, I'm telling you an example. Maybe the men teachers will like it. Cricket, because of course cricket is my favorite sport. So cricket, I hold a ball like this. There is a shinier part, there is a rough side. So I bowl, and because of friction, there is an in-swing or out-swing. So I understand, right? I understand cricket, the basics of cricket. I can explain how in-swing takes place, how out-swing takes place. I can explain. But if you give me a ball in my hand, can I bowl a Yorker just like Jasprit Bumrah? Maybe no. So I have understanding, but I cannot apply it. So apply is one step one over the understanding level. Then analyze, draw connections amongst ideas. You had few resource person probably who had come and told you about program outcomes. And today you have another one who is talking about outcomes. Then you have now you draw conclusions, you draw connections among them. पिंगळे सर ने कैसे बताया, पहले कोई आए थे उन्होंने कैसे बताया, कौन सा ज्यादा सही है, क्या गलत था, वो सही था या ये सही है, confusions. This happens when we were doing our third cycle next. So many experts coming up. एक बोलता था फोटो डालो, दूसरा बोलता था फोटो हटा दो. हम सोचते थे करना क्या, what to do. One is saying that put photos, another one is saying remove the photos. So somebody said something and now you are drawing the connections among ideas. That person was having some idea. Today I'm have another person who is giving some idea. So you analyze. And on the basis of that analysis, now you will evaluate. You have to evaluate what is right and then justify your stand. When you evaluate, you justify. No, like I will concretely say that what I am telling you about program outcome is correct. Why I can say that? Because I have a basis, graduate attributes given by UGC in LOCF document, and you were sitting opening all those documents. So you have justification, right? I can say with justification that those are the correct POs. And lastly, on that basis, I will create a document which you will upload on your institutional website. So that is creation is that final thing. So when, for example, a physics student understands physics, he comes up with a circuit diagram. When a commerce student understands taxation, he comes up with a form 16 or maybe files an ITR. When an art student understands languages, he writes a beautiful essay. That is creation. So creation is something that comes at the end, and that is higher order learning. So there was this question where madam was asking about evaluation. So usually the problem is that all our questions and all our evaluation methods mostly focus on these two lower order things. Remember, understand, remember, understand, remember, understand. I will tell you how. Let me take you to some of the slides first, and then we will talk about COs. Actually, I would have taken this later on, but then I thought that I will show it to you. These are some of the question papers, very responsibly, which I have copied from website of Savitribai Phule Pune University. With no disrespect to any university or the board of studies, but because we are ignorant, this happens. Just look at this paper on economics and look at the sort of questions that have been asked. First question, explain. Second question, explain. Third question, state, explain, state, explain, 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 explain. So the whole paper is all about explaining, 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 explaining. And now you have seen in Bloom's taxonomy, explain is level 2 understanding of Bloom's taxonomy. So you are not judging your student beyond the second level of Bloom's taxonomy, that is understanding. When you are stating the concept, you are judging at remembering. So level 1, level 2, level 1, level 2. That's it. This is the biggest problem of the evaluation system that we are having, evaluation and assessment system that we are having. So with outcome-based education, we will also have to change our evaluation method for that matter. Any problems with this? I hope you have understood how outcomes would be related to the evaluation method. Right. So now when you go on Google the Bloom's taxonomy, you will get many similar types of graphics. We call it as verb wheel or similar other types of graphics, which will tell you about what are the various action verbs that can be used when you draft a question paper maybe. For example, in the earlier question paper that you saw, I was talking about understanding. See, this is that action verb, explain. So whenever you are asking any question, explain this, explain that, explain this, you are actually referring to the second level of Bloom's taxonomy, understanding. But when you are probably asking him to modify certain things, organize few things, there are 7 things giving, and then you, in like mathematics, you had this question, no, in school, arrange in descending order, arrange in ascending order. So the student is learning to organize, arrange in increasing heights, decreasing heights. So he's applying his knowledge. What is more height? What is less height? Which number is big? Which number is less? Which is dark? Which is bright? Analysis. When you ask the student to differentiate, to compare, to debate, to inspect, to investigate. So your questions, they do start with these action verbs. Evaluate. Your questions start with find contrast between, conclude the, जैसे हिंदी में या मराठी में होता है ना कई बार सारांश लिखिए. So they conclude, right? So that is evaluation. सारांश लिखिए. Create, develop something, arrange something, calculations, compose something, hypothesize something, prepare something, summarize something. These all come under creation. So generally people, when I started this in my institution, many teachers came to me, sir ये सब नहीं होता हमारे यहाँ तो सिर्फ poems होती है, हमारे यहाँ तो सिर्फ गद्य होते हैं, हमारे यहाँ तो सिर्फ पद्य होते हैं. मैं कहा आपके यहाँ गद्य हो नहीं तो पद्य हो, यहाँ से लेकर के यहाँ तक हर चीज, everything can be included. Deepti madam, you will have to face this problem. Many teachers would be reluctant and they said, no, we cannot accommodate all these things in our syllabus. We do not do like this. Many teachers will come, but then you will have to probably make them understand gradually that this can work out depending upon how you frame your questions. Right? So you will get similar kind of sheets, as I said, the verb wheels on internet, and you all are aware of it. Now coming to basic, and I will go slow again. So we have program outcomes, 10 to 12 is good number. 3 or 4 program specific outcome. Now coming to course outcome.
Hello.
Yes,
Yeah. Sir, I have one question before we move ahead with COs.
please.
Sir, as you said, PSOs are related to program. That is program specific, right? Now we have BCom. We have BCom banking insurance. We have BCom accounting and finance. Now, as far as I talk about banking insurance or accounting and finance, they are specific, right? But when I talk about just BCom, so BCom, only BCom, general BCom, we say. So there, do we need
Yes.
to have PSO?
Yeah, this is a common problem with BCom, commerce graduation,
Yes.
because
Plain BCom.
commerce is comfortably taken as a faculty sometimes, and commerce is also taken with so many different departments also. So we have HODs in banking, HOD in some other subject. So in that case, like you are saying, if you have specialization at BCom, do you have specialization in BCom?
Yes, sir. We have BCom banking,
Right.
insurance, accounting and finance.
No, Jigna.
So
In
in,
BCom
Subject.
alone.
so we can create a
BCom
PSO.
banking insurance is specific.
Three
PSO
papers
में
of
आ जाएगा.
accounts.
We have 10 papers of accountancy in all 6 semesters.
No, your degree, ultimately your BCom degree is nothing but BCom accountancy, advanced accountancy.
Yes.
That's what. So we
Yes.
need to
That way,
create that
you can
PSO.
create PSO, yes. You can
We
create
need to
PSO.
create that way. Right.
Yes.
All right.
I
Thank
think
you,
you yourself sorted out this in your
sir.
discussion.
Discussion. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So yes, this is a very common question with BCom. In some places there is no specialization in BCom. So students do their BCom. If there are specialization, you write PSOs. If there are no specialization, you can skip from POs directly to COs.
I think
And
our
if-
plain BCom has no specialization, but teachers are saying
No,
advanced
no, sir.
accountancy.
No, madam. No, madam.
Madam, it is
BCom,
there.
as far as it is there, it is BCom advanced accountancy. In BCom, we have management also.
Yes,
And
there are 4.
there in
Yes,
majority of
sir.
the
10
colleges, it
papers
is
of
there only
accountancy
because.
we have.
Yes,
Okay,
it is accountancy.
okay.
There are 4 specializations.
Yes.
I can give you an example of similar situation. In many universities, in BSc, they do not have any specialization. For example, Nagpur University or Amravati University or even Aurangabad University. The students take up botany, chemistry, zoology all in 3 years. So they are not specialized in any subject. So they do not write PSOs. They write POs and COs. That's it. Okay, shall I go ahead now?
Yes. We'll sort it out at our level.
Yeah.
I have understood. You are right.
Yeah, fine. Okay, now I've told you 10 to 12 program outcomes, 3 to 4 program specific outcomes, and now 4 to 6 course outcomes. 4 to 6 course outcomes. Of course, this is considering that you have around 30 to 45 hours of teaching for a particular paper during the semester. Am I right?
Yeah.
From university, it may vary little, but 30 to 45 hours of teaching, that is what we do for a particular paper during a semester. So for a course, I'm now taking a liberty that I will not utter this word paper. I will be using word course so that there is no confusion. Program, course. Okay. So 4 to 6 course outcomes, and these 4 to 6 course outcome, they will be domain specific using action verbs. So Bloom's taxonomy is something that you are following. They should be again specific, measurable and demonstrated, and higher order skills should be aimed at. Now, I'm skipping certain things again. Course outcome will include 2 parts. One, action verb, and second, the learning statement. Action verb and the learning statement. Now, how does it go? The basic mistake that people make while drafting the course outcomes is this one. Good number of course outcome, not a problem with this. So there are 5 course outcome, fine. But then all these statements have same action verb, like the mistake I had told you just now. Understand, 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 understand. Explain, 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 explain. So this is something which has gone wrong here. But if you look at here, don't look at what subject it is. The point of telling you all this is that you have to have focus on higher order level. It just cannot be understanding and explaining or remembering always. You should always be also be talking about application of knowledge, analysis, or creation also for that matter. So here you can see that the course outcome is starting with the student will be able to apply, student will be able to analyze, student will be able to design, student will be able to conduct, student will be able to prepare. Now, one thing that you will again see here is these people from the outcomes which I have copied from a physics department, they have also correlated with the program outcomes. And that is very important. As I said, no, performance of or the attainment of all the course outcome will decide whether the program outcomes are attained or not. So there is a clear correlation between the course outcomes and the program outcomes. If the student is able to probably do your ITR things, Form 16 things, income tax, banking, costing, etc., or HR really well, that means finally the program outcomes of the commerce are attained. So what is happening in the courses is reflected in the program. And therefore, it will be our next exercise to correlate the course outcomes with the program outcomes. That we will see, of course, maybe in the later part of this workshop series that we are having. So here you can see that as usual, it starts with the action verb, but now you will be strictly following Bloom's taxonomy. And two, the latter part of the statement will be the learning statement. What will he be able to do with that action? What action he will be able to take? For example, here it says that student will be able to apply laws of physics. But for what? For computation of different types of responses. So you can, if you need, you can put some things in the brackets also, in the parentheses also, not a problem with that. But with the action verb, that question comes what? The student will be able to apply laws of physics. For what? For computation of different types of responses. Or in this case, the student will be able to analyze structural elements for what? For different force systems to compute design parameters. The student will be able to design comprehension elements. How? Using engineering principles to resist any given load. So action verb is always supplemented with what, when, how, where. Are you getting it? Are you following it?
Yes, sir.
So when you do this, your course outcome statement will be completed. Ask questions. Huh? Action verb, the student will be able to conduct experiments. For what? To validate physical behavior of materials. The student will be able to prepare laboratory reports about what? On interpretation of experimental results. So your action verb and the reason why that action is being taken, if you bring them together, that means if you bring together action verb and learning statement, then only your course outcomes will be completed. So again, as I always give some of the bad ways to write down the course outcome, here you will see many examples. You just go on to internet and try to search famous colleges as well as, A+ colleges, A++ colleges to B grade colleges, C colleges. You will see all sort of program outcomes and course outcome returns. Some are so vague like this one. The student will get sound training. So get sound training is passive. You will immediately say that this cannot be course outcome. Student will learn. Learn is again something that you have not specified. We all are learning. But are we understanding? Are we remembering? Are we analyzing? That is not clear. He will learn. The student will learn. Student will also be exposed. So we have already seen how getting exposed is not an outcome. Student will be introduced. So there's no Bloom's taxonomy taking place here. No action verb is there. And therefore, all such program outcomes or course outcomes cannot be expected. Another problem that IQAC coordinators or leadership people face, leaders face. And that problem is there are some people in the institution who take liberty to do their things on their own. For example, this is somebody from some institute. Of course, I will not tell you what institute this is. I've taken this example. So they were asked to draft the course outcomes. And what did they do? उन्होंने सोचा हम ना अभी unit wise करेंगे. So they started writing unit wise course outcomes here. Probably their IQAC coordinator told them to write, 5 course outcomes, but they started writing the course outcomes unit wise. Course outcome are the outcomes of the course, not of every unit. So it is summary, broad summary of the whole course. Otherwise, it becomes learners' outcomes. And we are not writing learner outcomes as of now, right? So we are writing or restricting ourselves to COs only. So 4 to 6 statement. Now then, this is a big question that again, somebody who from a board of evaluation was asking, right? When you are writing a course outcome, be very clear in your thought process that you should be able to address these outcomes somewhere in your evaluation methods. Like this outcome which has been written here for chemistry people is to recite state function and path functions, zeroth law of thermodynamics. Now recite in English, we mean it by, telling a poem, speaking out or reading out a poem or narrating a poem. So a chemistry student is not expected to recite a poem. Probably this teacher wanted that the student should be able to tell or state orally the state functions and path functions or zeroth law of thermodynamics. But then that teacher has to think that, am I going to ask this question in some kind of oral examination to the students? And if I'm not going to ask this question in any oral examination, I should not use any action verb like a recite in my outcomes. I hope you all are getting it, what I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir.
Right? So be very, very careful. Whatever you are writing with respect to all those 4 to 6 course outcome, make sure that they will be addressed somewhere in your evaluation system. Either these are the assignments, either it is a report of your study tool, either it is probably a case study that you have asked them to write, either it is a seminar or anything, oral exam, whatever it is. But you have to ensure that your course outcome is addressed somewhere in your evaluation method. We'll take 1 or 2 more examples. So as you can see here, understand, learn. So all these course outcomes are not correct. So this is something that you have to avoid. Then we'll quickly go on to the last part of today's talk because it is already 4:45, 4:41. So 5 or 10 more minutes, and then we'll discuss, take few questions also and close today's session. Let's draft the COs now. So this is definitely not related to your subject, any one of your subject, but then this is how I had drafted the course outcomes of the paper that I teach, the course that I teach, right? Again, you see a program coordinator, the program BSc, subject zoology, course code, the title of the course, and coordinator. Because I teach this paper, so course coordinator. Who is responsible for monitoring the course outcome for this paper? I am the person who is responsible for monitoring the course outcome or attainment of the course outcome here. Now, there are 6 levels of Bloom's taxonomy. But can you see the 6th level of Bloom's taxonomy here? The answer is no. Creation part probably cannot be achieved through the course I am teaching. So that may happen sometime. Because creation, because it is the highest order of learning, it might happen in some of your courses that there is no creation which is taking place. So in raw terms, we always say, no, but theoretical paper hai. So theoretical paper, I mean, there is less amount of application or creation that is taking place in that paper. And then look at the action verbs. The student will be able to describe. The student will be able to identify. Student will be able to compare. Yes, and all these statements are supplemented. Compare how? So I told you, no, action verb has to be supplemented by a question. Compare how? So compare on the basis of their character. Identify how as per the principles of taxonomy. Are you getting it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the idea of telling you all this is that you have to have 4 to 6 course outcomes. And now I'm going into the last part of today's talk and quickly I'll repeat it. In fact, we'll stop here and give you a brief glimpse of how we will be aligning in the next session. We'll be aligning our course outcomes with our assessment method. every question that we are addressing in our evaluation method, and you can have n number of evaluation methods, you can have assignments, you can have practical, but make sure that you have a sheet where you monitor that your course outcomes are addressed at least at some level of evaluation. At least one question asked somewhere that relates to all your course outcome. So this is the latter part of exercise that we'll be doing. So to summarize today, what we have done is we have, on the basis of graduate attributes, we have been able to understand how we will draft around 10 to 15 maximum program outcomes. We have also seen what we have to monitor if we want to check what are the correct ways of program outcomes writing. Secondly, we saw there can be 3 to 4 program specific outcome. One can be discipline based, second can be skill based, third research based, and 4 societal. Then we saw there can be 4 to 6 course outcomes, but these course outcomes will be, now there is this last part that I wanted to involve. Give me a moment. Last part of today's exercise. Why I had actually included that slide of my department here is, of course, this is zoology, but don't worry, very, very basic stuff that I wanted to show you. Can you see these words? One is protozoa, another is porifera, another is coelenterata, and another is platyhelminths. Don't worry, you do not need to remember any of these terms. 4 different units, but when I write a course outcome, all these units and their titles or inclusions have been put together in one outcome. So I say, evaluate the economic importance of protozoa, porifera, cnidaria, and platyhelminths, all coming together in one course outcome. You have to draft course outcome in such a way so that they are broad enough, and that much broad that a student cannot predict what question can come in the examination. If you become too specific with a course outcome, it is very easy to predict what question will appear in the examination for a student. Are you getting it, what I'm trying to say? If I become too specific, writing that the student will be able to explain the external character of paramecium, student is 100% sure that there will be a question on explanation of external characters. So he will come prepared with the external character. And so I have to take multiple parameters together which require the same skill. Repeating it, I have to take multiple components of the syllabus which require the same skill. So here the same skill is evaluate, and the multiple parameters or multiple components of the syllabus are these 4. Here there is same skill, explain, and multiple parameters are habit, habitat, external character, life cycle of paramecium. Here the same skill is comparison of different classes, and I have different phyla. So any class of those phyla, I have 4 groups, I can give comparison on any of those groups. I have 4 groups again, protozoa, porifera, coelenterata, platyhelminths. The skill that I'm looking for is identify and classify any of these. So you bring 3 or 4 and more topics together and focus one skill out of this, so that it does not become very obvious for students and teachers to predict what question is going to come in the examination. This is something very important when you are drafting your course outcome. Your course outcome should not be very, very specific to a particular topic. Is this clear? This is the ultimate precaution that you have to take. Okay, so for the day, I have come down to the end of this presentation, and I have tried to explain, make it clear to how you can draft POs, PSOs, and COs meticulously. If you have some questions, we can further discuss.